This is a key on the worksheet on writing equations of lines where 2 points are given. And remember, you want to always read the directions. So notice the directions here indicate to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So you're going to put the answer, you're going to say equation of line equals, and then you're going to put the answer in slope-intercept form. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at number one. So number one, you want to write the equation of a line that contains these 2 points right here. Now, in terms of a graph, just remember what that means. So if you were to plot those 2 points, 4, -3, and 7, -1, so here is 4, -3 right here, and then this is 7, -1. All right, so those are the 2 points here. So this is 7, -1, and this is 4, -3. So if I draw the line that goes to those 2 points, this is what I would get. All right, so I'm drawing this line. So this line contains those 2 points. And let me go ahead and extend it. So I'll go ahead and extend it a little more. And so we get something that looks like this. All right, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the equation of this line. Now remember, see how that line rises? So remember, if the line rises from left to right, the line's rising, so that means the slope is positive. So remember here, remember the slope is positive here. All right, slope is positive. Okay, so I'm trying to find the equation of this line. All right, so we're going to go through the process to find the equation of the line. Now remember, to find the equation of a line, I have to know the slope. All right, so we have to find the slope of that line. And so notice the slope we know is positive. So whatever slope we get, we need to first of all make sure it's not negative or 0. It has to be positive. So let's go ahead and find the slope of this line. And so remember, the slope formula is, so the first we're going to do is find the slope. So let's go ahead and find the slope. And I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this right here. And when I do that, to find the slope, remember the slope formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And remember, if you start with y2, you have to start with x2. So the order matters. And it helps to label these. So let's call this the first point. So we'll call this x1, y1. And then 7 would be the x coordinate of the second point, and -1 is the y coordinate of the second point. And then it's just a matter of you taking these values and substituting into the formula. So I get y2, which is -1, subtract y1, which is -3, divided by x2, which is 7. The order matters. So since I started with -1 in the numerator, I have to start with 7 in the denominator. So 7 subtract 4. And then simplifying this, -1 subtract a -3 means -1 plus 3, right? And then 7 subtract 4. And we know that -1 plus 3 is 2. And then 7 minus 4 is 3. So I get 2/3. So remember, the slope is positive, right? And so that's what we said. We said, first of all, the slope better be positive. All right, but the slope is 2/3. All right, and so basically what that means is, I remember rise over run. So rise over run. So if I start, let's say, with this point here, if I remember rise is positive, run's positive. So I go up 2 to the right 3. I'll get another point on the graph. See right here? Go up 2, 1, 2 to the right 3, 1, 2, 3. Up 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay. All right, now once you find the slope, then we need to substitute this information into point slope form. So second step, second thing we're going to do is we're going to use point slope form. So point slope form. And so remember, point slope form is y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. And in order to use point slope form, I need to know the slope, which I now do, and I need to know one point on that line. Now remember, this line has an infinite number of points, right? Has an infinite number of points. I know 2 of them exactly. I know the coordinates of 2 of them, I should say. So this point, 7, -1, and this point, 4, -3. It does not matter which of these you use. You'll still get the same equation in slope-intercept form. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and use the first one. So let's go ahead and use 4, negative 3. So this will be your x1, this will be your y1. All right, so let's go ahead and substitute. So I get y minus y1, negative 3, equals the slope, which is 2/3, times x minus x1, which is 4. All right, distributing, and then rewriting y subtract a negative 3 as y plus 3. And distributing, I get 2/3 x, and then 2/3 times a negative 4. 2 times 4 is 8. So 2/3 times a negative 4 is a negative 8/3. And then subtracting 3 from both sides, and we're trying to get this in slope-intercept form. So subtracting 3 from both sides, I get y equals 2/3 x, and then minus 8/3, and then the LCD is 3, right? So I'm going to write, so negative 3, the equivalent fraction is negative 9/3. And so combining these two fractions, a negative 8/3 and a negative 9/3 is a negative 17/3. I get y equals 2/3 x minus 17/3. And that's the answer in slope-intercept form. So right here, you're going to put y equals 2/3 x minus 17/3. All right, now just to remind you, remember what this negative 17/3 represents? That negative 17/3 represents the y-intercept. Remember, slope-intercept, that intercept is the y-intercept. So if I take the calculator right here, if I take the calculator and I divide negative 17 divided by 3, so negative 17 divided by 3, I get something that's approximately equal to negative 5.7, right? Or this is negative 5 2/3. So that's where the graph's going to cross the y-axis at negative 5 2/3. What I want you to notice when you look back at the graph right here, so you see this where the graph crosses the y-axis? That is about where you see this right here. That's about negative 5. It's between negative 5 and 6, right? And so it's negative 5 2/3. So that's the y-intercept, negative 5 2/3. All right? Okay. So that's the answer. Now, I just want to just show you real quick. Remember how I used this point and I got the equation of this line in slope-intercept form? So remember we just found. We found that the equation of this line right here is y equals 2/3 x minus 17/3. That's what we just found. Okay? But you could have used the other point. It does not matter which point you use, just to show you. So you could have used the other point instead. So this would be your x1, this would be your y1 this time. So you'll have y minus y1, which is negative 1, equals the slope, which is 2/3, times x minus 7, right? And so this becomes y plus 1 equals, and then let's go ahead and distribute. I get 2/3 x, 2 times 7 is 14, so it'll be minus 14/3. Subtracting 1 from both sides and combining like terms, I get y equals 2/3 x minus 14/3, and I can write negative 1 as negative 3 divided by 3. So the LCD is 3. Notice a negative 14/3 and a negative 3/3. Negative 14, negative 3 is a negative 17. So I can see, get the same answer. Does not matter which point you use. You get the same answer. All right? Okay, so let's look at number 2. So number 2, we want to find the equation of the line that contains these 2 points, 0, negative 1, and negative 3, 4. All right? And so remember, to find the equation of a line, I need to know the slope. So let's go ahead and find the slope. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the slope. All right? So to find the slope, you have to know 2 points in that line, and I do. These are the 2 points in that line. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this over so I can write underneath, indicate the symbols. So this will be x1, y1, and this will be x2, y2. So this is the x coordinate of the first point. This is the y coordinate of the first point. This is the x coordinate of the second point. This is the y coordinate of the second point. And then it's just a matter of you substituting into the formula So the formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. y2 in this case is 4. Subtract y1, which is negative 1, divided by x2, which is negative 3. Subtract x1, which is 0. And then 4 subtract negative 1 means 4 plus 1. Negative 3 subtract 0 is negative 3, right? And so I get 5 divided by negative 3, which is the same thing as negative 5/3. So the slope is negative 5/3. All right, so that means this. That means if you were to graph that line, since the slope is negative, the line better be falling, right? The line should be falling from left to right. So let's just take a look at that real quick. So if you were to plot those 2 points, so here's 0, negative 1, and then here is negative 3, 4, right here. And then if I draw the line, notice the line's falling, right? The line's falling. So the slope should be negative. Slope should be negative, and it is. The slope is negative. The slope is negative right here, negative 5/3. All right? All right, so remember, slope is rise over run, so negative 5/3. So that means if I take this point right here, and then remember, rise is negative, so I go down, run's positive, so I go to the right. So watch. Go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. You get another point on the graph. And keep doing that, you'll keep getting points on the graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So this will be another point. And just extend it like, oops, I didn't do a good job there. Just keep extending it, right? All right. But the idea is that you want to find the equation of that line. So let's go ahead and find the equation of that line. All right, so I found the slope, and then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to use point slope form. So let's go ahead and use point slope form. And remember, point slope form is y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. And in order to use point slope form, remember you need to know the slope, which you do, and you need to know a point on that line, and you know 2 points in that line. It does not matter which one you use. The fact that 0 is one of the coordinates is probably what most students will choose. So let's go ahead and use that one since there's a 0 there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use 0, negative 1. So get y minus the y coordinate, which is negative 1, equals the slope, which is negative 5/3, times x minus the x coordinate, which is 0, right? Okay. And then y subtract negative 1 means y plus 1 equal. And let's go ahead and simplify this. I want you to realize that x minus 0 is x, right? So this is just negative 5/3 x right here. And then it's just a matter of you getting y by itself, because remember, you want to write this in slope-intercept form. So you get y by itself, and they combine like terms, and you have your answer. Negative 5/3 x minus 1. There's the answer. So your slope is negative 5/3 and your y-intercept's negative 1. And I want you to show you something. You see right here, where does the graph cross the y-axis? The graph crosses the y-axis at negative 1, which is what the y-intercept is. All right, so that is number 2. So the answer number 2 is y equals negative 5/3 x minus 1. All right. So if you were to graph this, which you didn't have to, but I'm just saying if you were to graph this, you just found the equation of that line. The equation of that line is y equals negative 5/3 x minus 1. So if you take any x value, substitute x, you're going to get a y value that's on this line. So there's an infinite number of y values for all these x's. So if x is negative 3, there's your y value right here. If x is, let's say, positive 3, wherever the graph crosses here, there's your y value, and so on. All right. Okay, number 3. Let's look at number 3. So number 3, you're given these 2 points. All right, so these are the 2 points in number 3. You have 2, 5, and 6, negative 2. And remember, the first thing you're going to do is find the slope. So to find the slope, to find the equation of a line, rather, you need to know the slope. You have to at least know the slope. So let's find the slope. So let's call this x1, y1, x2, y2. So the slope formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So y2 in this case is a negative 2. subtract y1, which is 5, divided by x2, which is 6, subtract x1, which is 2. And so a negative 2 and a negative 5 is a negative 7. 6 subtract 2 is 4, so there's your slope, negative 7/4. So once you find the slope, then the second thing you're going to do is you're going to use point-slope form. So let's go ahead and use point-slope form. All right, and remember, point-slope form is y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. And in order to use point-slope form, you have to know the slope and a point. So I know the slope now. So the slope is negative 7/4, and I know 2 points in that line. I just have to use one of those. Let's go ahead and use, and most of you probably use this one that I'm circling right here, the 2, 5, because 2 and 5 are both positive. But I'm gonna go ahead and use this one right here just to show you what to do. So let's go ahead and use 6, negative 2. So let's go ahead and use 6, negative 2. So here's your x1, here's your y1. So I get y subtract y1, which is a negative 2, right? Equals the slope, which is negative 7/4 times x subtract x1, which is 6. All right, now let's go ahead and simplify this or rewrite this. Y subtract negative 2 means y plus 2 equal, and let's go ahead and distribute this. So I get negative 7/4 times x is a negative 7/4 x minus, well, actually plus, right? A negative times a negative is a positive, so plus 7 times 6 is 42, so get plus 42 over 4. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to simplify this first. So 42 divided by 4 is 21 halves. So y plus 2 equals negative 7/4 x plus 21 halves. And then we're going to go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides to get y by itself. And when I combine like terms, I get y equals negative 7/4 x plus 21 halves, and then subtract 2, I can write as negative 4 halves. So the LCD is 2. So negative 2, the equivalent fraction for negative 2 is negative 4 halves. And then combining 21 halves and negative 4 halves, 21 minus 4 is 17. So I get y equal negative 7/4 x plus 17 halves. All right, and so that is the equation of the line that goes to these 2 points. So y equals negative 7/4 x plus 17 halves. All right, now before I go any further, remember right here when I got to this step here, I said I'm going to go ahead and reduce. So just in case some of you did not reduce, which is fine at that point, you didn't have to reduce. Just make sure you reduce your final answer. But just to show you what you would have done real quick, what you would have done. So right here, where we had y, right here, I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite this over. Y plus 2 equals negative 7/4 x plus 42/4. So somebody probably did not reduce at this point. You said, well, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2, and that's fine. You can do that. Subtract 2 from both sides. Combine like terms. You get y equals negative 7/4 x plus 42/4. And then minus, and then remember, negative 2 is equivalent to 8 divided by 4, right? So this is 8 divided by 4 is 2, or negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. But 42 minus 8 is going to give you 34, correct? So you get y equals negative 7/4 x plus 34 over 4. But you got to reduce. So you need to go ahead and reduce this. So when you reduce this, you get negative y equals negative 7/4 x plus 17 halves. All right? So it did not matter, just to let you know, it did not matter whether you reduced here at that point, like I did here, like see I reduced here, got this answer, or if you did not reduce, you would have just had to reduce at the end. Okay, see this is 34/4, which reduces 17 halves. All right, so that is number 3. All right, and then finally number 4. So let's look at number 4. So number 4, I have these 2 points in number 4. You have negative 3, negative 5, and negative 1, 1. And so you're going to find the equation of the line that goes to these 2 points. So basically, if you were to graph this, just to show you real quickly, if you were to graph this, you have negative 3 negative 5, which is right here. There's a point. And then you have negative 1, 1, which is right here. And then if you draw the line, I'm trying to grab this ruler. All right, so if you were to draw the line, you're basically trying to find the equation of this line right here, right? Okay, so we know that the line rises from left to right, so we know the slope's going to be positive. All right, so let's go ahead and find the slope. So let's go ahead and call this x1, y1, and this will be x2, y2, and so the slope will be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So y2 is 1, subtract y1, which is negative 5, divided by x2, which is negative 1, subtract x1, which is negative 3. But remember, 1 subtract negative 5 means 1 plus 5, and then negative 1 subtract negative 3. Remember, what we're doing is we're changing subtraction to addition, so you add the opposite. So 1 subtract negative 5 means 1 plus the opposite of negative 5, which is 5. Negative 1 subtract negative 3 means negative 1 plus the opposite of negative 3. So that's negative 1 plus a positive 3. 1 plus 5 is 6. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2, which reduced is 3. All right, so that's a nice slope. It's an integer, so it'll be easy to deal with. And so the second thing we're going to do, so that's the first thing we have to do is find the slope. Second thing we have to do is use point-slope form. All right, so when I use point-slope form, remember point-slope form is y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. So to use point-slope form, you have to know the slope what you do, and you have to know one of those points. Let's go ahead and use the second one right here. Let's go ahead and use the second one. So I'm going to go ahead and use negative 1, 1. Now remember, it doesn't matter, right? You saw that earlier. It did not matter which point you use. All right, so negative 1, 1. So I get y subtract, so this would be x1, y1. So y subtract 1 equals the slope, which is 3, times x subtract x1, which is negative 1. Let's go ahead and simplify x subtract negative 1. So I get y minus 1 equals 3 times x plus 1, right? Now go ahead and distribute. I get y minus 1 equals 3x, and then 3 times 1 is 3. And then to get y by itself, we're going to add 1 to both sides. And then notice what we get. The equation in slope-intercept form is y equals 3x plus 4. 3x plus 4. So that's the equation of that line that goes to these 2 points. Y equals 3x plus 4. And remember, the slope is 3, and the y-intercept is 4. And notice what you saw here, right? Where did the graph cross the y-axis? The graph crossed the y-axis at 4. So that's the equation of the line. So the equation of the line is y equals 3x plus 4. All right? Okay, so that is the key to the worksheet on finding the equation of the lines when 2 points are given.